98462-87546 and 76624 were all trial engines for the Fat Controller's Railway. The other engines found them rude and unbearable. It's like they couldn't stand being around them. They were always awkward and condescending towards the other engines. The only engine they were nice to was Gordon. They kept making efforts of being kind around him. But Gordon saw straight through them and basically stayed away. But the most selfish, insufferable of the bunch was 76624. He frequently tried to get his way, much to the annoyance of the other engines. But he didn't care. My railway, my coal and water, he'd usually sneer at them. 76624 was generally an arrogant engine. He'd always show off whenever he was pulling passengers. But his arrogance usually got the best of him, and it led him into trouble with the Fat Controller, and he'd usually end up getting karma. The railway was getting lower and lower on coal, so Gordon and the bigger engines had to take on very small amounts of coal, much to their annoyance. But of course, 76624 made it clear that he was the most annoyed out of all of them. "I don't get it," he moaned one day. "I'm probably the most hard-working red engine on this island, and yet I receive an insufficient amount of coal and not enough water. This railway should be ashamed of themselves." But of course, everyone else just went about their work, completely ignoring him. "Is anyone even listening to what I have to say?" he growled. He watched angrily as Eagle backed down onto his passenger train, completely ignoring him. "76624 seethed with fury as the guard blew his whistle. Come on, he growled to his coaches. All in good time, they grumbled. The next day, some new coal arrived to the island of Sodor. It was different than the regular island of Sodor coal. It was different and smelled funny. It was blacker. The engines complained that it smelled funny. "I don't want to take this coal," said Thomas, but he did it anyway, 'cause he had to. But the next day, when he went to fetch the coaches for another engine's train, his wheels slipped and he found them heavier than usual. "Come on," panted Thomas. "Come on. You're so heavy," he groaned. Pull harder, grumbled the coaches. "Have you gotten fatter?" panted Thomas cheekily. How dare you?" cried the coaches. Poor Thomas finally ground to a halt, steam and smoke hissing out of his pistons. He was stuck. But Thomas wasn't the only one. Engines all over Sodor were breaking down and covered with smoke. The others tried to warn 76624, but he just laughed. Huh, he boasted. I'll bet that you two only broke down because you're little engines and can't handle the strength of the coal. I'll bet it wouldn't happen to a big engine like me, he boasted rudely. Edward groaned and sighed. You know what, 76624? Go ahead and try. I'm not even gonna try and talk sense into you anymore. You know what? Chortled 76624. I will, just to prove you, old iron, wrong. He chortled while puffing proudly away. Even 98462 was fed up with 76624's ignorance. Soon 76624 entered the platform where his coaches were waiting. He glanced over and saw 4 trucks filled with coal. The new coal, that is. An idea popped into his funnel. Oh, driver, he asked, wouldn't you want to make my passenger run as smooth and efficient as possible? Yeah, of course, said the driver. Well then, why don't you fill my tender up with all of that new coal so I can go as fast as I like at every station without having to stop for coal and water at every station. That seems like a good idea, said the driver, suspecting nothing. It was arranged. 76624 moved to where the 4 coal trucks were. When all the coal was gone, 76624 puffed proudly to his coaches. I'll show old iron, he sniggered, as he moved toward his coaches and backed onto them with a bump. Ooh, ow, cried the coaches. Stop! Now come on, coaches, he said proudly. The people got in, the guard blew his whistle, and 76624 puffed proudly away with his new coal. Suddenly, he felt his boiler begin to hurt, and his pistons begin to ache. I must be going too fast, he said. Then suddenly his insides began to burst with smoke and steam. Then suddenly he found himself going slower and slower in front of Henry's tunnel. He was stuck. Then suddenly out of the tunnel came Eagle Lancer-Topham Hatt. Eagle couldn't help but laugh. Well, he laughed. Looks like we found the culprit who stole all the coal. What's the matter, 76624? You look a little red. 76624 seethed and blew steam at Eagle. Then, out from Eagle's cab, stepped Sir Topham Hatt. 76624, he began. I can't say I'm proud about what you did because, well, I'm not. In fact, I'm very disappointed in you. How could you take all the coal when it was meant for all the engines? You should feel ashamed of yourself. Yes, sir, said 76624 solemnly. But I hope now you know that bad coal is bad coal, and it can affect steam engines big and small. But what you did today was very selfish and greedy and despicable. How could you do something like that, so inconsiderate, when you knew the coal was for all the engines? You should feel ashamed of yourself, 76624. But, he said with a smile, in a way, you've helped me. Because I needed a way to get rid of that bad coal, since new good coal is on the way. So in a way, your greediness helped me. He spun around on his heel and turned away laughing. Then suddenly Eagle spoke up. It is alleged that you were greedy. I think I finally found a name for you, 76624. Alid Greedy. The coaches, Eagle, and Sir Topham Hatt all laughed, while 76624 disappeared under a cloud of steam. The Alid Greedy incident was all the other engines in the shed could talk about. There was a whisper somewhere behind him. Hey, Alid Greedy, do you want to take my special freight train? It's full of coal, so you can be as greedy as you like. The other engines all laughed. Except for 98462 and 87546, who were stiff as boards. Hopefully, this experience onward, Alid Greedy will be a less selfish engine and less greedy about coal.